Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be unboxing another big box expansion for Kingdom Death Monster. This one's called Spidicules, and it is very, very creepy. It's a gigantic spider human-y thing. It's extremely weird, and this is an expansion that can be added into Kingdom Death Monster. Again, in terms of specifics, I'm not going to give you too many because I'm not familiar with it enough yet, but I'm looking forward to adding it into the game. So just another gigantic monster to fight. I've heard really good things about this one in terms of the content behind this expansion, although I've also heard that the miniature is a little daunting in creating it because, as you can see, it's kind of a really heavy ball in the center with multiple spiny-ish kind of legs. So because of the legs and things like that, and also because when the miniature is finally built, it kind of sits up on the board like this. It's one of those miniatures that it may require more than just super glue in order to keep together, but I think I've heard some people have success with super glue by itself, and that was good enough. But anyway, this is one of the more challenging ones to put together and probably store, I guess is the best way to say it, because of how thin the limbs are. You know, if you don't have a glass case for your miniatures, or maybe like somewhere protective, like a box you could put it inside of, you know, if it gets bumped or drops, it's with super glue probably going to snap off. So as long as you're pretty careful with your miniatures, it should be okay. But this one is a beast, and as you can see, this is another one of the big box expansions, so super, super deep. So without further ado, this is what the front looks like, as well as the, you can see a shimmer there. I will, of course, take the wrapping off right now so you guys can see that without all the glare, because that's much better. So let's cut this one open. So yeah, we're down to, this would be, at this point, well, that was a terrible cut. So I think at this point we are, after this expansion unboxing, we have 2 more to go. And then we are done for all the expansion unboxings. And I can tell you, this has been one of the longest hauls of unboxing that I've experienced across any game yet. Just an insane amount of content here. So looking forward to adding this all into the game, of course. And with Kingdom Death Monster, I don't believe you put everything in. You pick and choose things as you want, and based on which campaign you're playing, that'll also help you decide which of the expansions are worth adding in. So there's just a ton of different ways to play the game, which kind of adds to the replayability. Alright, so first things first, it's got a humongous bag of miniatures and sprues here. I should say just say sprues. So yeah, tons of stuff in there. You can also see the legs are all on the outside. And this is what I was talking about in terms of how thin they are. These are the legs that are attached off to the side. So this thing is a gigantic spider thing, so it's obviously extremely creepy. More so than the Lonely Tree, the card deck is going to be much thicker with this one, because it's not more of an object. Although I'm not too familiar with the Lonely Tree enough to say that, per se, but I know that the Lonely Tree kind of is terrain / a monster at the same time. This one should have gear cards as well, which the Lonely Tree didn't. So here you go. There's a stack of gear cards, so a decent amount. And of course, all of the packing peanuts. So more of those. Man, you should see the blue bag I have off camera here full of these things. It's just insane. I gotta try to find a good way to, well, I don't know, find a good way to deal with them. Next up, we've got the manual here. So we'll be going through the first couple pages of that in a second, and it looks like this expansion actually has some boards as well as some cards, so that's pretty cool. This one is actually a decent pack here with a bunch of extra stuff to add in. Here is some nests, because there's egg things, or basically there's miniature versions of Spidicules that I don't know what they're called yet, but I believe they can just hatch on the board and all kinds of stuff, so it's kind of nasty. I'll come after you, chase you down. And that's pretty much it. That concludes the full box inside. So what we're going to do is maybe go through this in some type of order. The first thing I'm going to do is probably cut into the miniature bag. I'm a little bit scared because there is a lot to this one. So actually I'm also noticing there's a lot of small bases. So I think this one might have a little bit of the ability to create other heroes, I think. I could be wrong there. So let's see. Oh, look at that! Yeah, look at the arms on this thing. This is crazy. I'll show you guys this up close and personal in a second here. But there's a lot going on here, and obviously when you're building like a spider-like creature, it's going to have weird legs everywhere. So you can see it's almost hard to differentiate the legs from the sprue itself, but you can kind of see how long they are. They go from like this corner right here all the way along here. There's a joint all the way down to here. So that's where you can picture it in terms of scale. It's going to sit, and the center of the ball kind of the spider is going to be right in the middle here, and then you've got kind of the legs off the side. They're quite large, and of course there's going to be a number of these, but they're just miniatures, so that's where, like, yeah, if you knock the thing off the table and it's just super glued, it probably would break. So this is going to be one of the more fragile miniatures to build, but you don't have to use just super glue. You can use cement. Some people pin their miniatures, all this kind of stuff. You can do it a number of different ways. I think some people even went as crazy as to hollow out some of the joints near the ends and actually insert tiny magnets on either end so that they could just attach the legs as they need them and pull them off when they didn't. However, I don't know if that would work for this miniature based on how heavy the center is. That's something I'm not going to tell you to do or not do. That'll be something you'll have to explore on your own if you want to. I'm going to stick to super glue and just not drop the thing. That's going to be my plan. So you got three sprues worth of legs, so that's a total of 6 legs. So that sounds like I've got them all. I've heard stories of people missing these. That might have been something from way back in the first Kickstarter. I think sometimes they were being sent with missing legs. I think I've got them all here. The other thing you're going to see with this pack is a large amount of armor kits as well. So this one right here I'm going to show you says it's the Spider Silk Armor Kit. So I'll just give you a quick zoom in here. There you go. So you can see there's some of the armor here for this kit. Very cool. Try and get that to focus there for you guys so you can see it a little better. And then again, kind of on the opposite side, this is what the sprue looks like. Going into the next one, you're going to start seeing these little tiny spiders. So you can see this is kind of like the tiniest guy here. There's the top half of them, back half. I think there's 6 of these. I could be wrong. You can kind of see them strewn throughout the sprue here. So this sprue is called the, let's see, the baby Spidicules sprue. And actually, no, I know there's 6 because there's actually 6 kind of quadrants to this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to create 6 of them. And you can see how many little tiny pieces there are per. So you can, I remember actually reading about this, that some people were kind of this, I guess, is reminiscent of some of the miniatures in Shadows of Brimstone, where there's so many little intricate pieces. I think it was the little spiders. Actually, I think it was spiders as well in Brimstone that people said were kind of a nightmare to put together because the legs are so thin, and you kind of have to wait for one to actually hold quite well before you can lean against it, that type of thing. So that'll be fun. This is going to take some time for sure. It looks like the armor kits in this are just fantastic. This is one of the biggest things about this particular expansion. So you can see here, if I can get it to focus, this one says Spider Silk Armor Kit. Now this is really cool. So you're getting into some really awesome looking armor. So, and you're going to got some weapons on the side as well. So that's awesome. And again, remember, the cards for Kingdom Death Monster all have cards that basically coincide with each of these different pieces, which is one of the major draws of the game, is the fact that you can build based on what you're actually, you can actually build your armor kits based on the cards you're receiving throughout the game, which is really cool. A lot of games don't do that. A lot of games just give you a card and say, you're wearing this, or you're wearing that, or you have this particular sword, but they don't actually allow you to build that out. Now, I'm noticing that these 2 sprues are quite connected, and I'm just trying to figure out where... Oh, it was a finger. Okay. So we've got a finger. Wow, that is crazy and creepy at the same time. Okay, so here are the hands for this thing. Look at that. Look at the hands for this. Creepy. So you got these 2 gigantic hands, a couple little things that are just like antennae that are basically just popping out from them. But those are beastly. Those are quite long. And then, of course, you've got the actual body. So the body of him, there's the top half of his face. He's not exactly the most happy individual in the world. You got a human there. These are the kind of the other sides to that circle. You're going to end up closing it around. And then you got 2 more limbs. So I guess I was maybe wrong. There might be 8. There should be 8, actually. Yeah, that would make sense. But there's 6 larger legs. So I think it stands on 6 large legs and then has 2 legs that are hovering above the ground. I could be wrong on that. If we take a look at the picture here, that actually does make sense. So you got 2, the front 2 are more like hands and the rest are more like regular spider feet, which is part of the reason this thing is super creepy. So that's the entire sprue, and likely going to take some serious time to build. You also, based on the armor kits and stuff, it looks like they've given you a ton of bases, which is really nice. so that you're able to basically make a bunch of armor kits and things like that and have the ability to put them on. As well, I'm guessing that some of the spiders, well, maybe the baby spiders have their own. I don't know if the baby spiders actually get their own platform or not. That's a good question. I'll have to double check that because maybe that's what they're actually for. I don't know if the spiders, the little ones, sit on their own or not. So the next thing we'll go into is the gear cards. So this is going to tie right into the miniatures we just looked at. So you're going to be able to see some of the actual names of the gear we just took a look at real quickly there. So that should be kind of cool. Just bear with me a second here while I try to cut into this without destroying anything. This is the part I'm always the most worried about because I don't want to rush it and scrape a card or bend a card or anything like that. So there we go. Got the packaging off. Do a quick flip through. Alright, so we're starting with the Grinning Visage. So we got that one. And there should be 2 of each, or maybe there's not. I don't know. We got the Weaver, the Amber Edge. It's kind of a cool one. Couple Amber Edges. So there you go. Normally there's 2 or 3 of each one. So this one's got 3. The Amber Poleaxe, we did see that. I remember seeing that on the sprue. So we got 3 of those. After that, we've got the Blue Ring. Then we've got the Green Ring. That's cool. So we got all these rings. I don't know what they're for, but that's interesting. We got this Silk Bodysuit. We got the Silk Bomb. A few of those actually. The Silk Boots. Oh, this is the best part of the entire thing, is all these really cool pieces of armor and stuff like that. Let me just jump past that. Just jump past the boots. Silk Robes. That's nice. Silk Sash. Because again, remember that armor kit thing was really full. There was a lot going on there. The Silk Turban. The Silk Whip. Let's see. Silk Wraps. We got the Hooded Scrap Guitar. 3 of those. We got Throwing Knives. Very cool. That's awesome. That's a great pile of gear cards. That's really cool. Alright, so there's that. And now we're going to get into the major standard cards, or standard size cards. Although these aren't really standard size cards, but just the normal size cards for Kingdom Death is what I meant to say. There's actually quite a stack of these. This might be more than what's normal in some of the expansions I've opened recently. So this could be 2 separate sections to open this one up. I'll have to see how that goes. So we've got, let's see here. Oh, this is a decent amount. Okay, so I'm going to cut this deck in half because this is quite a bit. Yeah, we'll like that. Okay, so we're going to start it off here with the Silk Armor. Got Spidicules, Silk Surgeon, Death Touch. Of course, I'm not going to go through every one. Some of these are hiding behind each other as well. The point mainly is to show you guys kind of some of the artwork and some of the style of the cards. My goal is not to spoil anything, so I'm not trying to stay anything long enough that it's going to ruin anything for you. But you've got AI cards here. These are definitely... and there's a couple there that are hiding behind each card at times. So that's the thing too, is I'm trying my best not to show you the entire card for too long. And actually some of these really are sticking together quite well. So just give me a second here. I always say sticking together, but they're really not. It's just that they're pressed really well into the packaging to the point where they haven't been moved around yet. So because of that, look at all this craziness. Ah, this is super creepy. This guy's a weirdo for sure. So all kinds of different things. These are hit location cards. You got all kinds of AI cards we just went through. All kinds of creepy stuff. But the point is, I don't want to show off too much of the text because the text is part of the story, and that's the fun part you need to explore on your own. We're gonna go through these ones now. So we got what are these ones called? These are part of the hit locations. So we got a bunch of forelegs. These are kind of telling you what they're doing every time they trigger. Picked clean. So these are actual hunt event cards. So there's a whole bunch of these when you actually decide to go after this thing, if you do. Then we get to some of the actual unique, or what do they call them again? Special? No, these are actually just resources straight from this one. So we got Venom Sac, we got a Heart, Fangs, Eggs, Appendix, appendage, my apologies, Exoskeleton, all kinds of weird things. And of course, so there's lots of resources on this one. I think this is another reason why this one's so popular is because it gives you so many resources that are really well used in order to create, you know, a number of different things. And that actually leads us into this package, which is going to give us a couple things that are specific to Spidicules and his story, as well as what opens up in your settlement when you defeat him or encounter him and all that good stuff. So it looks like you're going to gain access to what is called a silk mill. And that kind of makes sense based on the gear cards that we just saw. So this silk mill will allow you to use those resources in order to build things. So we've got the silk mill right here, so you can see it's kind of what it looks like. It actually gives you the mill. You got yourself turban, wraps, robes, sash, boots. You've got a whole bunch of different things that you can create. You even got those rings. So again, I'm not familiar with what the rings do. And they also have locked things on the side. I'm going to have to learn about what those are all about. That's really cool though. Anything that adds more to the settlement phase I love in Kingdom Death Monster. Of course, we got the divider for gear and for standard cards, as well as the creepy watermark in the background. We also get 2 settlement events, which are awesome. Love adding these to the pile. So one is the season of the Spiderling. There's all kinds of creepy things that can happen in this one. And we got Silk Storm and a bunch of creepy things that can happen in this one. So again, that's what I love. I really love these expansions that add these into it, because I find these open up so much more of the gameplay. The cards are fantastic. Of course, they're going to open up more elements in terms of armor kits and things like that as well. But I just like when it touches the settlement situation more so than anything else. We already talked about these tiles, so again, I'm guessing these are for the Spiderlings, I guess they call them, and this is maybe the nest. Not too sure, but that's my guess. We also, lastly, have the actual book itself. So again, very creepy book cover as per normal. And if I go ahead here and open up the first one, you're going to have a nice artwork of the inside. At the beginning, they always seem to have a really nice cover at the front, and then it's going to go into Spidicules, the breakdown, as well as all the components. So you can see the component list on this one is much bigger than most of them. The upgrading of your core game, the important thing is how you're going to add this stuff in. The current campaign, a new campaign. You got new rules with a gigantic star, so it says monster level symbol. So it's going to give you some talk about the different levels of monsters. This one actually has a bit more before we get into the story, so it's got Spidicules rules. You can kind of see how big he sits on the map. He kind of hovers over top of the characters, which is really cool. There's the little tiny guys that are creepy, and they're going to kind of mess with you. You've got monster control bonuses, the Silk Surgeon, and a Forest Gate. I'm not too sure what the Forest Gate is. Probably part of the storyline. Could be my guess. That's something I'm not 100% sure on. And actually, I'm not going to show you anything else because that jumps straight into story content and everything else. So this is where spoilers abound. So that's where I'm going to stop in terms of showing you anything further. But hopefully, what I've shown you right here is everything that you'd want to know about what comes inside the expansion for Spidicules. It is a big box. There's a lot in here. And this sprue, I think this one of the other ones, this is going to take me, this is probably one of the most involved, would be my guess, to put it together. So I'm going to have to add this to the pile of things I need to build for this game. We still have, coming up next, after this unboxing, we still have 2 more to go. The next one that's coming along is going to be, we actually have 2, and if I'm not mistaken, it is the Sunstalker, and then we have the Dragon King. Those are the last 2 big box expansions to add in, and then we've covered all the core Kingdom Death and everything for the original expansions. And then at that point, we're going to take a break, and we're going to stop doing unboxings for Kingdom Death Monster, and I'm going to just, as time goes on, I'm going to start to assemble this stuff. I already have assembled a large majority of the core content for the game, which is enough to get a showcase going. But again, as I mentioned, it's going to take some time to get that going because of the scale of it, and I want to make sure I also nail the rules, and I want to also get a little bit familiar with it, so I am going to play it through a couple times off camera to kind of get a feel for the game, and that way it'll make the showcase more enjoyable for you guys. So anyway, long story short, that's going to conclude the unboxing for Spidicules. We got 2 more big boxes to open up here on the channel, and then after that we're going to take a break from Kingdom Death for a bit. So thank you so much for your support. Hopefully this is useful. If this is the first unboxing you've seen on the channel, I have a ton of other Kingdom Death Monster unboxings. You can check them out if you're interested in picking these up. They're available in the store from time to time. They're available through Kickstarter, that type of thing. So this is not a Kickstarter exclusive game. You can find this stuff in their store and pick it up after the fact. Thank you so much again, and as always, keep on rolling solo.